That broom handle might be in the way.
So this is
Crown molding is tricky. The way I learned it was you cut it upside down.
So what do you do with that piece again? Like it goes where?
You basically put it on the miter saw at the same angle that it would be on the roof in the corner.
Oh, it goes in the corner.
So it goes like this, like it would go on the corner of your ceiling.
Does it have to go just like that, or can you like, I don't know.
Some people can, you can cut it, you could cut it and move the saw miters. This is why it's called a compound miter saw. See, it can miter this way also.
Mm-hmm.
So you can cut a 45-degree while it's flat on here. The way I learned to do it was, then you would cut it 45, but you would also take this to 45, so that you could cut it that way, and you would get the same end result where it's
So
a 45-degree.
What angle does that end up being? That's a wide angle, isn't it?
Yeah, see, it's trickier, and it's not as it doesn't come out as nice, I don't think, unless you do it the way the guy that I learned from taught me to cut it, to lay it on here, and I have a line drawn on here, so I know exactly where to put the molding.
Mm-hmm.
And then you basically set your miter saw at 45 degrees. And then that's an outside corner. So that would be up on an outside corner of a wall. Mm-hmm. So it's 45 degrees and 45 degrees.
Okay.
So it's a compound angle, I guess you would call it.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the day, people used to do it with a regular handsaw, and they put it in a miter box just with a handsaw, and they probably had to cut it flat.
Mm-hmm.
So
how does it
see
like
this?
when it sits on the wall, how does this part get flat to the wall? You know what I mean? Like, or is that already?
This
That's
bottom one's already flat.
And that one's flat too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So the wall would be going up like this.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it comes with this angle on it already, and then that's an angle also.
Now, I guess that's what I was. What if you just had a regular piece of wood, and that flat piece, that wasn't already cut. Is that
You would
just
have to
45
cut
degrees
it.
too?
I would have to, if it was just a like these that I made.
Yeah, just a regular piece.
If it was just a regular piece of wood, you would have to use the table saw, and you actually angle the blade again at 45 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So you would angle the blade on the table saw so it's going out. That's probably more than 45 degrees. And then you'd run it through, and it would cut that angle on there, like this. Mm-hmm. And they make this with a shaper that they run it through a machine.
Mm-hmm.
But usually you're going to use a piece that's already made. I mean, unless you're really doing something completely custom like cabinets, where you might make something like this. But
Do you ever make cabinets like that?
Then this was a shelving I made for glass shelving. So it sat and it went around a corner.
So do you ever have to cut things that aren't 45 or
Yeah,
10 or 20 or?
Yeah, depending on the what you're making. The miter saw can cut basically any angle. So I'm trying to think of what I'd be cutting at 10 degrees. So you can take a regular piece of wood also and cut it at 45. Like when I'm making, like say a jewelry box, you're gonna cut it at 45 to make your corners of your box.
Mm-hmm.
So 45 degrees is used a lot more than most of the other ones. But you would cut the crown if you have, like, say, an octagon.
What's an octagon?
Like if the room is say 8-sided, or if the room has a, you know, the walls are at different angles instead of if they're not 90-degree angles, then you would cut it at, I think usually it's 22.5 degrees. Which is a more shallow angle, so it's kind of showing you backwards. But
Why 22.5 degrees? Where'd that come from?
it's just a standard on the saw, and it's a standard in building. Let me see if I can cut this piece too, and then. So, cut the right side.
Machinery makes it a lot easier, doesn't it?
Yes. So see, I would flip that over.
You think you would have been a carpenter without all this machinery if you had to do everything with a saw?
I don't know. My dad first taught me with, still at the wrong angle. My dad first taught me with hand saws and back saws. See, I'm not cutting it right. But say your room, it just depends on the angles of the walls in your room.
Why aren't you cutting it? What do you mean you're not cutting it right?
Well, basically, I need to cut this angle. And it'll be right. Still not right. Been a while since I cut crown. See how that's a different angle there?
Oh, okay.
So it's standard in building, there's, you know, the way the angles that they build for your walls. So that would be up on the wall like that. So it's more of like a like on a tray ceiling where you have like an octagon or a hexagon. It would be used for that.
Okay.
And those are the trickier cuts. So a lot of people usually do them at 45 because it's simpler for the carpenter. But in the really expensive homes, you're going to have a lot more 22-degree angles and 30-degree angles. Probably even some that are more or less. What else?